is Ulrich Kelly, and I am an account supervisor here at ProSec Partners. I actually started with ProSec in the New York office and moved to the London office about a year ago now, and it's been an amazing experience and an amazing journey so far. A little background on me is that I actually started my career in Dubai, working in financial PR and consumer PR there, and then moved back to New York, where I was originally from, to work with ProSec. And ProSec gave me the amazing opportunity to move to London about a year ago, and I've been here ever since. So in that vein, for Pride Month, ProSec has asked me to answer some questions from my colleagues on being Black and gay in different markets around the world, having experience working in Dubai, working in New York, and now here in London. I have kind of grown up always moving around. So I have a lot of experiences, not just in these markets where I've worked, but also I've lived in Ghana as a child. I lived in different places in the US, in Pennsylvania, in New Jersey, in New York. So I can bring a perspective on my experiences in really all those places. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into these questions from my colleagues. So the first question is, what advice would you give to your younger self before moving abroad? Good question. So I think I was prepped for moving abroad even before I moved abroad for work. As a child, as I said before, I moved quite a bit around. So I was very used to, packing up and going somewhere new. I think what's different about working in different markets and moving abroad is the fact that I was doing it for the first time without anybody else, totally by myself. So it was a bit daunting at first to realize, wow, you're going to be on your own setting up your life, doing life admin, making sure you have your finances correct, making sure visas are correct. So it's a lot of legwork. But what I've realized over the time that I've been doing this, from moving to New York to Dubai and from Dubai to New York and from New York to London, is that you just have to start. I think obviously you need to do your research and make sure that you know the correct visas you need to get, the correct position for you, what the job market is like. But once you have that basic knowledge, just go for it and the universe will be there for you. I think that's the most important thing. I think a lot of people get stuck in analysis paralysis and they are never actually move anywhere just because they think too much about what the unknown is. And I think you have to take that equation out. You just have to really go for it. And once you go for it, the universe will conspire to help you out. And that's been the case for me. Obviously, when I moved to Dubai, literally the day after I graduated with no real plan. I mean, I had a job before going, but other than that, I was just flying by the seat of my pants there. And I was able to set up a great life there. So I would really urge anybody that's thinking about moving abroad to do a bit of research into it, see if it's the right place for you. But when you do decide that you want to move abroad to a certain place, do it. Don't think too much about it. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis because that can be a detriment to your future. So yeah, that's the answer to that question. So question number 2. What has been your most unexpected positive experience in relation to your sexual orientation? That's a good question as well. I think the most unexpected positive experience has been really acceptance. Acceptance from others. I grew up, in a very religious, conservative family of immigrants from both Africa and Jamaica. So being a homosexual in these communities is very much frowned upon. And I lived with that guilt and that fear as an adolescent when I first realized I was a bit different from other people my age and other people that were going through puberty. And that kind of set me back a bit just because I wasn't really being my true self. And it wasn't until near my ending of high school and into college that I started being a bit more of myself, that I realized that, wow, being more of myself has made me realize that people are accepting me even more for who I am, being myself, than they were for me hiding and living in fear. So I think that was the biggest surprise for me as I came out and got more into myself and more true to who I am. And that encouraged me as well to bring even more of myself out to the public and be even truer to who I am. And I've gotten even more acceptance now that I've done that. So I would say acceptance is one of the most surprising aspects of coming out and being, a gay person in this world. So question number 3. How do you slash how can I try to educate individuals who are typically not as open to change on LGBTQ plus rights and race equality? Personally, I just try to lead by example. I think living your truth and living, in your power and in living who you are is super important. Just because I think people have a lot of different notions of what being gay is, what being Black is, and what being a Black gay person is. And it's funny to me because I think there's no real template for what a gay person is. There's no real template for what a Black person is, and there's no real template for what a Black gay person is. So, but it's easy to put people into boxes. So I think just being myself has been a really great educator for people, just because it kind of dispels a lot of myths about who gay people are, who Black people may be. So I think that's my biggest power in helping people see change. And for those people that don't want to see change, I just have to accept them for who they are. And I give them the love from within me. And that's all I can really do, because if somebody's not open to hearing what you're saying or listening to the knowledge that you're bringing to them or hearing your experiences, then they're just not going to be open. So what you can do is really just give them love and give them openness and hear them out, but agree to disagree. I think that's the best thing sometimes, just because if somebody's coming from hate and you're giving them love, it's going to be hard for them to keep on giving you hate. So I just come from a place of love. And it's worked for me. I think a lot of the times when people do come from a place of hate or from a place of ignorance and you show them the way in a loving manner, even if they might not change their stance, they can warm up to you a bit, and it's one step in the right direction. So I think spreading love and really honing in on your experiences and honing in on who you are and being who you are is kind of the best way to deal with people who might not be as open to change as you would like. That being said, obviously, we all deal with people who are very homophobic or very xenophobic, and that is an unfortunate part of society. But I think, like I said before, you just have to really come from a place of love and hope that they accept that love, and give them knowledge as well. And I also think that spreading love is better than arguing, just because when you spread love, people realize how fruitless the endeavor of hate is. Because if you're giving somebody love and they're giving you hate, it doesn't really match up, and they're gonna look kind of stupid, for lack of a better word. So I just love everybody. Question number 4. How can I, as a white colleague of yours, support you now and in the future? That's a good question. I really do think that my colleagues at ProSec are amazing, and I feel very supported here. And I'm super grateful for that, because I know for sure that that is not the case with many people in the US and across the world. So I truly am grateful for the community of support and inclusion that we have here at ProSec. I think, with that being said, knowledge is power. So if you want to really support, minorities, people of color, the gay community, the trans community, whichever community, it's arming yourself with knowledge, reading up about racial inequality, reading up about the history of gay rights in America and abroad, and making sure that you know what has happened and how that has an effect on the present. Because once you know that, you can sympathize and empathize a bit more with your fellow colleagues and your fellow friends and family, who might be a bit different from who you are. So yeah, I think knowledge is super important, and I think that is a weapon that you can use to your favor in helping the world become a better place. So yeah. Question number 5. Ulrich, how does living in London compare to New York and Dubai in terms of freedoms and attitudes as a Black gay man? Good question. I think they're all very, very different. I can only give my perspective of how I've lived my life and the places that I've been in, but and the situations that I've been in. But I think each place is very, very different, and each place has the pros and cons. For me, I'm from New York, so I feel very comfortable here. I feel that I can be Black in New York comfortably. I feel that I can be gay in New York comfortably just because I know the environment. I know, where I'm accepted and where I'm not, and I stay in those kind of areas of influence. And now that I'm in London, I think London is also very accepting of, both Blacks and gays as a city. But that being said, I have more of a comfort in New York than I do in London, just for the mere fact that I've lived in New York for so much longer. So I do feel more comfortable in New York as a gay Black person than I do in London. And then Dubai also is an interesting place because I did feel very comfortable and welcomed in Dubai as a Black person and as a gay person. You have to remember that Dubai is an expat city, so there are people from around the world there. People from Europe, people from all over Asia, people from Africa. So there's a lot of different mindsets, and it's a huge melting pot of culture. I think even more so sometimes than New York and London, just because people are very new and fresh, and everybody's fresh off the boat, so to say, in Dubai. So they're all willing to kind of really accept the community and find community where they can. In Dubai, homosexuality is officially illegal. So you do have some restrictions on your life, and you do have to make sure that you are following these restrictions. But that being said, there is a gay community in Dubai. There are very accepting people. I would say most of the people that I met in Dubai were very accepting of my sexual orientation, very accepting of my skin color. I never really felt that I had any racial or sexual orientation related prejudice. And that's just my experience. I know there are tons of other people who have had tons of other experiences, but I think it's just a matter of being careful and knowing who is who, and who you can really open up to and not. But yeah, I think it's really dependent on the person. So question number 6. Do you think the Black community is changing its attitudes towards the LGBTQ community? Has this been something you've encountered? Yes, I do think the Black community is changing its way of thinking around the LGBTQ community, but I also think there's a lot more that needs to be done. And I think this goes for every community across the board, but especially in more minority communities where homosexuality is really looked down upon. I know growing up that I heard a lot, especially from within my community, of anti gay, homophobic rhetoric. And so I do realize that that is still rampant in a lot of the communities in minorities, and also in the majority. I mean, if you look in other parts of America, or even in New York, there are pockets of communities that are anti-gay, anti-Black. So I think it's across the board that we have a lot of work to do. I think there has been a lot of progress. I think with the advent of television shows, with gays being more open about who they are, I think people have realized that it's not a stigma. We are just as much of people as everybody else, and we live like everybody else. We eat like everybody else. We work like everybody else. So I think people have really come to understand that and have become more accepting. But you do see still a lot of prejudice. You do see still a lot of hate, but I think slowly we are making that progress. Question number 7. What actions do people do that truly make a positive difference in your life? Good question. I think going back to what I said before about acceptance, I think acceptance and openness, people that are accepting, people that are open to other people, is the most positive influence on my life. Those are the people that I, have had the most positive experiences with, just because of the mere fact that they're open. And being open is a very great thing, just because if you're open to new ideas, but you're also open to sharing your ideas. You're also open to giving a great advice to people that are outside of your circle. And those people have been the most helpful to me in my journey in life. So I really think that acceptance and openness are two key factors that are really positive and really have influenced me the most. If I have to think about the people that have really, changed my life for the better, it's those same people that were very open and very accepting. So yeah, I think that is a very important characteristic to have, especially in these current times. It's very important that we are open to other ways of thinking, are open to interpretation, are open to hearing other people's stories, because it's only then that we can open our minds and even more and realize that we are just a small proportion of the world. There's so much out there, there's so many stories, and if you're open to it, you can really change your world. So I would say for everybody out there, be open, be accepting, learn, get as much knowledge as you can, because as I said before, knowledge is power. Great. So question number 8. What has been the best thing for you from a personal perspective about moving to London? Great question. I think I keep on saying great question, but these are all great questions. I think the most positive part about moving to London is it solidified the fact that I can move anywhere in the world and be able to survive, and not only survive, thrive. From moving to Dubai in the first instance, moving back to New York, to moving to London, I have really been able to set up my life quite quickly and quite successfully in all these different markets. And that has given me so much confidence. And I think it really made me realize that I can be put into any situation and be able to work my way through it quickly and effectively in an efficient manner. So I think that's a very positive part of living in London. I also feel that living in London has allowed me the opportunity to expand my horizon even more. I've learned so much about different people, different ways of doing things, different words that I had no idea that were in English in the first place. So yeah, it's been a great experience, and I think I'm excited to learn and grow even more here. Question number 9. Have you found that people have different attitudes towards homosexuality in different countries? I think that's a hard one to answer, just because yes and no. I think every country in the world is going to have people that accept you and people that don't accept you for different reasons. And when it comes to homosexuality, it's the same way. I think obviously it's hard to generalize a whole country. For instance, even a place like Iran that's known for being super homophobic, many of the Iranians that I've met who come from Iran, that have lived in Iran, are very open towards homosexuality. Same with Arabs, same with Africans, that you would think that, because they come from these countries, they're not accepting of who I am or who, other homosexuals may be. But that's just not the case. So it's hard. I don't like to generalize on a country by country basis. Maybe on a community by community basis, yes. But if you look at America, I mean, yes, America's quote unquote the most open place, but you still have pockets of racism, you still have pockets of xenophobia, you still have pockets of homophobia. So I think you can't really generalize. Obviously, there are some governments that are more strict as far as, or more conservative as far as how they view homosexuality, how they view race. But I don't, especially having lived in Dubai and seeing how life is there and being a gay person there, even though the laws were against homosexuality, the de jure life was quite normal. I mean, I lived as I would live anywhere in the world. I was able to find, a great gay community. I was able to find a great friend circle, and even places like Ghana that I've been as well. I mean, I've met people there that are very open, and I've met people there that are very closed. But I mean, I think it's really who you meet and the circles that you find yourself in. So I don't like to generalize in that way. So sorry if that didn't answer the question, but I tried to answer it as best as I can. I think, yeah, so that's all the questions. Thanks, guys, so much for sending in these questions. I had so much fun talking about my experiences, and I hope you learned a bit about me a bit more and also about the world a bit more. And obviously, I am always here. If anybody has questions that they want to ask me in person or through email, I'm always available, and I am very open about everything just because I think it's so important to bridge cultural gaps by sharing my story and sharing the stories of others. So, yeah, thank you guys so much, and come to me with any more questions. Happy Pride, everybody!